Hi, guys. My name is Spetalina Stefanova, and I'm the executive director of the Damn Short Film Festival. Thanks for joining us for the first Q&A session with the filmmakers. This is Nevada A documentaries, and we have a couple of our filmmakers here. Let's see if we can see them here. Hi, and what's your name and what project did you work on?
Hey, my name is Jacob Langsner, and I was the writer, director, and editor of Vultures, Hawks, and COVID-19.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Do we have anyone else here?
Hello.
Hi, what's your name and what project did you work on?
My name is Jay. I co-directed RXR, the mini documentary, with my co-director Isabel.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us. Do we have Lucia here? Or is it just might just be the three of us? But thanks so much for submitting to our festival and for pursuing your art and passions. I just want to ask you guys, is documentary filmmaking your main style of filmmaking? Was this just a special project you worked on? Please talk to that. We'll start with Jacob and go from left to right.
For sure. So I would definitely say my passion lies in narrative filmmaking, and documentary is something I'm a lot less familiar with, but I'm currently a senior at Stanford, and Stanford doesn't really have a video production major, so I kind of take my opportunities where I can get them as far as opportunities to make films. And when the initial idea for Vultures, Hawks, and COVID-19 started, it was just supposed to be a documentary about the West Coast Falconry and Kate Martin, the Master Falconer. As I said in the documentary, though, we lost the audio, and I held on to the video footage for a long time. Then in the context of COVID and not really being able to get together for a shoot of any sort of fictional film, given social distancing guidelines and not being on campus anymore, I thought it would be a good time to kind of look back at that footage and see if I could string together a different kind of documentary style narrative to both make sense of the past, but also kind of keep my filmmaking skills sharp and keep that as a tool of a way to kind of put chaos into order.
Awesome. Jay, same question.
I also prefer narrative filmmaking, but documentary was just really fun for Isabel and I to do when we had first started college and we're working towards a film degree. I also like documentary still. I think I'd want to do like documentary in the future on my own time. I do prefer, narrative filmmaking, preferably more like the movie side of things versus like TV shows. But open to like anything. I do have fun doing documentaries, but it's more like a just fun project for me.
Awesome. Have you guys ever submitted to the Damn Short Film Festival before, or is this your first time?
I have a couple times.
Yes, you have? Okay. Yeah. Cool. Is this the first time you have a film in the program? We'll start with Jacob.
Yeah, this is. I have one other film actually that is going to be playing tomorrow in the experimental category called Star-Crossed, and it is my first year, and having two films included is an honor. So thank you guys so much for having me as part of the show.
Awesome. Jay, have you had anything screened with us before?
This is my first time having something screened with Damn Short. Isabel also, and she also has another film screening in the Nevada B comedy drama category that she directed and I wrote. So we're really excited for both of those.
Great, great. Now I can't see the public chat coming in. Do we have any questions from the audience? If we do, please put it up on the screen. Audience, you can participate in a live chat right now. We're live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and through Eventive. So in all of those places, you should be able to pull up the chat and ask any question. Okay, looks like we don't have any questions yet. So I guess I definitely have lots of questions. So Jay, obviously with the pandemic, what your film was about is not something that can happen anytime soon. can you talk a little bit about how you see the future of live events and what do you foresee in the future for something like that?
I don't know, honestly, because I feel like I was just talking about it with a few people the other day. Everyone's kind of, they're confused on how we used to do things. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I went to public pools and that's so weird to me now. Or like, oh, I went to concerts all the time and that's so weird to me now. So I feel like, once things are safe again, people will obviously start going and doing the things that they've always done in concerts and live events like that. There was a couple hundred people in that venue that one night, that our film's based around. But I mean, I hope in the near future, in a year, I don't know, that people can start doing this again, because I would love for the DJs to be able to go do this again. I know one of them still does do DJing right now, locally, every night during the pandemic, but like, in a safe, obviously, like maybe they live stream, stuff like that. But I think, like once everything's safe again, I think things like this are really exciting to go do. It was the first time I ever went to anything like that while we did this documentary, so I'd love to go to more and experience more specifically of their things.
Yeah, I think we all miss that, in-person interaction, especially with our festival. There's, it's all about that in-person experience, just being downtown in Boulder City and, at the incredible Boulder Theater, our, Filmmaker Lounge, which we have. I hope everybody tunes into our Discord server, which is our virtual lounge, which now can be our basically just community building platform. Oh, we have a question. And so, yeah, let's see. We have, so from M. Malia Blunt J, is that, no, okay. Well, is this to J? Is that what that's saying? I'm not sure. What? I'm just gonna ask. We'll start with Jay, and this question can be to both of you. What challenges did you face during your documentary process?
We actually had a few bumps. It was the first documentary we actually did. We did the initial shooting of it back in 2019, and it was for a documentary class that we were taking. And me and her are not shooters. We're not like cam offs. We're not very good at that. And we did a lot of that for the documentary. So learning all that on the fly was kind of interesting too. But we ended up getting so busy after shooting this that we didn't edit any of the documentary until 2020 during the lockdown, actually. So it was a lot of challenges, like getting back and forth edits, or like we had some sound issues that took a while to fix in the post process. But when we were filming, like, it was honestly pretty smooth. It was really fun. I had never done anything like that before, neither had she. Everything went really smooth there. It was just kind of the post production that we had a lot of bumps.
Yeah,
but it's here. It's done.
Yeah. Jacob, I guess obviously losing your sound is a pretty big challenge. Can you answer that same question?
Yeah, so I mean, I think definitely first and foremost, the challenge was kind of trying to figure out a pivot where we could zoom out, as it were, and kind of figure out another narrative that could use the Falcon footage in a way that still felt relevant and meaningful to the people involved in the shoot, and yet accommodated kind of the super quickly changing state of affairs. So certainly the writing aspect and the rewriting of kind of how these images were going to be presented was really difficult. But once I kind of got the idea that it was worth doing something with this during quarantine, the real difficult thing became finding supplementary footage to lace into the footage of the Falcons that I'd shot, to be able to allow this story to kind of zoom out in that scope and to talk about things beyond the falconry and the nature preserve itself. So all of the footage that I didn't shoot, so all the footage that isn't the Falcons themselves, I got from public domain stock footage websites and archival footage websites. So I primarily used a website called Prelinger Archives and spent a lot of time kind of just shuffling through like home videos and old government PSAs and all sorts of stuff that was in the public domain to try to find those supplementary visuals that would actually kind of help me, lace the new story together. So the biggest challenge was definitely kind of sifting through all those kind of poorly organized, but really wonderful and surprising and strange little things that have kind of fallen into the dark, like outside like the weird kind of forgotten film snippets that no one claims anymore, to see if they could kind of be like rejuvenated as well.
Awesome. So how has the pandemic affected your filmmaking careers? I'll start with Jay.
Um, I mean, it's given me a lot of time to, do writing stuff or learn a lot of new things at home, watch a lot of things that I didn't have time to do before. Like if you get hired for shows, sometimes they get pushed. That's happened a lot. I worked on some things during the pandemic, very small things, couple days. I have worked on a couple short films at the end of last year. So it's kind of like hit or miss. You can still kind of find some productive things to do. I really, hope that it picks up a bit more soon because I would love to get back to doing things normally, especially with film. I really like do miss being on set every single day and like being super busy all the time. But it's good. It's good to learn and watch things.
Great. Jacob, same question, and then we have something from the audience.
For sure. Yeah, I definitely echo Jay's point. A lot more writing than kind of on-set producing. I think though, I think it's reinforced my conviction that film is a very, very essential thing that we've kind of fostered as a society to turn to in times of need. And I think to answer your last question, that was about kind of where we see the film industry post-pandemic, if it's reinforced anything, it's that narrative and storytelling is never going to be forgotten by society as something that we need to rely on. And especially in a time when you're so alone, I think it's really important to feel seen. And a narrative that you can relate to, something that shines light on an experience that resonates with you, especially when you're sitting in quarantine watching on your phone. It doesn't have the communal effect of a theater, but to say, I feel understood. And to say that somebody else out there has had an experience that reflects my own. And that, even by proxy, makes me feel like there's a spotlight on me and that I'm not alone in this crazy, chaotic kind of progression of events. I think that's really valuable. And it makes me all that much more excited to kind of go into film and continue kind of driving my passion towards doing that.
Yes, and we can all connect wherever we are and do this. And thank you guys for bearing with us. This is our first time doing anything like this. So we really appreciate everyone's patience. And it looks like we have someone that's joined us. Can you please say your name and the project that you worked on? Oh, I can't hear you. I don't know if others can.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, sorry. Hey, I'm Lucia Starbuck, and I directed Biggest Little Street Companions.
Awesome. Well, since we had a question up, let's start with, can we get that question back up? All right. What are your guys' ways of getting your creative flow? Where do you guys get your inspiration, and how do you channel that into your art? Sorry, I wasn't listening. Is it Lucia or Lucia?
It's Lucia.
Lucia, perfect. Lucia, I'll start with you to answer this question.
Oh my gosh. I think it's taking the leap to make the first call. You kind of like, you can sit and think about it, but once I start talking to people and really getting to know like what they want to talk about and getting to know them, that's kind of how I get into it, like brainstorming with other people. But I think it's always making that first call and getting at least out of my head a little bit.
We'll go with Jacob next.
I actually have to agree. I think there's that really cool moment where, you're almost scared to put something down on paper because you're like, okay, what if this doesn't work out? What if this isn't the story I intended to tell? What if I write all this and it doesn't work? And sometimes the fear can stop you from doing anything at all. But if you kind of just like, put on some music, sit and do that initial word vomit, and then suddenly you look and you realize even out of like several pages of shenanigans, there's that one sentence that you're like, whoa, this might have articulated something that actually feels useful and relevant and fulfilling. And you can kind of take that and start to weave it together with other ideas, put it in a journal, have it there as something to rely on. And then the next time you have some sort of experience or see some sort of movie that sparks another idea, you can kind of page back to that and go, hey, that one time I was brave enough to put that thing down on paper, it's there now. And now that's a building block to kind of put towards something else and to get a story started.
Jay, how about you?
I think I agree with a lot of what they're saying. For me, mostly like I will just word vomit from the start, and just do a bunch of stuff and then see where it goes. Honestly, a lot of the times it's like right when I wake up from a nap, I don't even nap, but if I nap, like I'll wake up and I'll just like write a bunch of stuff down, and then that ends up being something that I make into a film, which is really funny to me. Maybe sometimes like if I'm just trying to write, I can't even write, like just if I try. But I think for me, a lot of the inspiration that I get too is like when I start to do the like pre-production with other people and people that I'm even close with, and we're just working together and we can kind of flow together and get excited off of each other's ideas. That's more where I jump into the whole channeling my art. Because if I'm just writing by myself, I'm like, oh, it's just for me. Like no one's gonna see this right now, or like whatever. But I like bouncing off other people's heads too, and getting into other people's thoughts and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and especially right now with the pandemic, it's very hard to connect with people and have that experience of writing together and brainstorming together. And some people have a easier time with the technology than others. And also just a quick question to Lucia. With the pandemic and obviously the Biggest Little Street Companions, such a important issue that so many people are dealing with, especially through the pandemic. Can you just speak a little bit about what you learned through the project and some of your biggest takeaways?
Yeah, so I guess in my area, I'm in northern Nevada, just learning that there is limited shelter space for folks. There's just not a lot of place where people can bring their pets, and just being able to shine a light on that. And then I think just also hearing people talk about like that I put my pet first and like my pet is fed before me, and just hearing those kinds of stories. And then like it's just also just really disheartening to hear like how people treat them, and just like the mean like comments that they get from like house people, kind of like you shouldn't have a pet. But like the bonds that I saw with some of these pets and their owners was like something that I'll definitely take with me.
Yeah, it seems like it's probably an issue that's more and more an issue during the pandemic with people facing houselessness and all that. So thank you for shining a light to that subject. Do we have any more questions from the audience? Looks like we did for a second there. Let's see. Okay. Will there be a part 2 of this documentary or around live events in Las Vegas? Not sure. Maybe they're talking to Jay because it's about live events. So I'll have Jay answer that.
Yeah, that's actually one of the DJs from the documentary. So
Okay.
that's DJ AR. I would love to do a part 2 in the future. I think they're really fun people, and it was really fun just to experience like the life that they live, because it's obviously so different from Isabel and my life. Live events in the future, maybe. I would say definitely to doing something in the future with them. Live events in the future as a whole, I don't know, maybe one day if the opportunity comes up, and if Isabel wants to do it too. But I would work with them any other day. They're great people.
Awesome. Do we have any other questions from the audience? Okay, this is for Lucia. Did you encounter any bad pet owners? What impact did that have on you?
I did not encounter any bad pet owners. I think the most worrisome that I did come across was just people not having access to like veterinary services, and just essentially saying like, I mean, their headquarters are in Carson City, but if someone tells me I don't have a phone and I can't reach that person, so just like that impact to know that there is like a service available, but people are having a really hard time accessing that. But I didn't encounter any bad pet owners. Those pets looked very loved.
That's good to know. Next question. Do we have something from the audience? Okay. What was your favorite part about making your doc? We'll start with Jacob and just go straight down.
So I think my favorite part was actually a part that I didn't even expect to be part of the documentary, which was right at the last month that I was in school before we all got sent home. And they kind of made that decision really quickly on the fly, where it was like on Monday, we got an email that was like, hey guys, something's going on. We might need to send you home. Like, we're going to cancel finals. And then by Thursday, they were basically like, you need to leave by Friday. And I had my camera with me, and as I really quickly packed up my dorm, almost as kind of like a defense mechanism, I took out my camera and I just started filming all of it because it felt so surreal. And that was before I was even thinking about making the hawk footage in any way incorporated into some wider commentary on COVID and how to maintain some level of kind of calibrated optimism within this situation. But it was a really amazing thing at that moment to have film as a tool to kind of, to quite literally give me a lens to look at something that was so odd and unexpected. And I think kind of assuming the position of a filmmaker literally by just saying, okay, I'm going to film this and see where it goes, from packing up my dorm to getting in the car and driving 9 hours back home to where I am now in Las Vegas. And it was as much of an aesthetic and artistic endeavor as it was a comfort mechanism. And I'm really glad that I kind of had my camera there at that moment to just live it, but also to frame it. And yeah, it was nice.
Great. Jay, what was your favorite part?
I know I have a lot of favorite parts about the whole documentary. I think one of the like favorite things that Isabel and I have is that it's something that we had never done, and we got to kind of live in a world of music instead of film. Because I don't really know too much about music, and we got to experience a lot of like a life that just wasn't ours, and I think that's really cool. And we're so like thankful that they shared that with us. And then, we can kind of see parallels between what they do and what we do. And then combining it all together is really cool, having both mediums at the same time. I think another like favorite thing that I had was just being there when they were performing, because for me, like our performing is being on set, but their set is just a whole different thing, and it's live and it's so cool. And I just really loved like experiencing that with them and doing it with my best friend. Like we were just on the go doing it, and we didn't even know like what was going to happen next, you know what I mean? Because it's a documentary and it's kind of just like run and gun. I think that was really cool to do with her.
Great. Lucia, what was your favorite part?
My favorite part, I think, just being able to talk to folks and get their voices out there and be able to have essentially the creative direction to make it super storytelling and being able to share the stories. And then I think of course, filming pets was a lot of fun too. And just being able to like, I agree, like get out of my house and like talk to people instead of just, just being inside all day. But yeah, so I think that was my favorite part, just being able to share those stories and then kind of see, and also be able to share the fact that there wasn't a lot of shelter space at that time that was accepting pets, and that there is like exciting news at a shelter now that does allow pets, but just being able to shine a light on that.
Hey, is there one in just in Reno, do you know, or is there one in Vegas as well?
I just know about Reno. I'm not sure about Vegas.
Okay, cool. Do we have other questions from the audience? Well, I guess I will ask a question. Let's see. What do you guys like about working on short films versus on feature-length films? Let's start with Jacob.
I haven't had the opportunity to work on a feature-length film, though I certainly hope to in the near future, once I graduate and try to get a little more integrated into the film world and the professional aspect of that. But, short films for me have always been a way to have a small little world that I get to play with and explore that is not contextualized in academics, that's not contextualized, in my relationships, in anything except kind of this little realm of possibility. And it's very cool to have that tiny space where you can just say, all right, let's see what happens. Let's start with an idea and let's see if we can find something that's kind of detailed and visceral and meaningful. And I mean, it's great because you get to play with a bunch of different ideas, right? Like, I mean, every 10 minutes and every couple months that go by, you get to kind of pivot and say, all right, what did I learn from this and how do I get to apply it next? And B, when you share it with people, because you get to make more in a shorter period of time in theory, you also get more moments to connect with people. And it's very cool to be able to share as much as you can, and especially across different genres and themes and tones, and to see what affects what people, and to see kind of what relationships and what little sparks that creates and that brings for you.
Jay, how about you? Have you worked on a feature film before? And what do you like about short films?
I haven't had the opportunity to work on the narrative feature film. I'd say the closest thing that I've been able to do was I got to work on a really good friend of mine's feature-length documentary, going ghost hunting in Reno, and that's almost out. Hopefully, we're gonna do another one in the future. But I would love to work on feature-length films. I think I'd find more of my passion in that. But what I love about like doing short films is that obviously most of the time, maybe not always, it's a shorter turnaround than feature films. So I can have more room to practice and meet more people that want to act in this one or that one and make more relationships with people, especially like in my community. I mean, that's something that was really important in our documentary too, is like the bond of the community. And, you know, obviously we're pretty small here and just meeting everybody and doing stuff like that. I love that, like, yeah, like he said, like short films can tell a variety of things and you can kind of focus on one more small moment in time. I really loved like focusing on that when I wrote Isabel's short film that's also in this festival. It's literally just 10 minutes of them in a coffee shop and a moment in time that's shared between the two main characters. I like little things like that, I think, over like versus short films where it's a longer length of time. I like little like sit and talks. Like I made a short film that took the course of a day, and I wasn't really a fan of the one that I made, but I think it just gives room to keep practicing and learning and making a more variety of things.
Yeah, you get to try out so many different things and see what you really enjoy the most. Lucia, same question.
Yeah, I've also never worked on a feature length film. I'd love to in the future. I come from a more radio background where I'm getting like 4 minutes, 2 minutes. So like 15 minutes feels like a really long time, which has just been really nice. I mean, I guess I also agree. Like, I guess I say like shorter is better because it forces you to kind of pick out the best parts and like having to like, am I willing to defend keeping this in, or is this something that I really need to be in there? So I guess I am a little bit more on the shorter side, but to be able to have more time would also be amazing.
Yeah, for sure. And as a programmer, one thing that we always notice is that yes, people make their films too long. Even with a short film, it's probably too long. Like you can really tell your story. You really need to like take a look at that. So definitely an important part of short filmmaking. We had a question from the audience. Can we get that back up on screen? All right, and we'll just keep going in this order. We'll start with Jacob and do like a big circle around. Let's see. Do you guys have any plans for future docs different from these?
So the next film that I have in the works is a short sci-fi movie, which is going to be fictional and kind of different, but something else that I threw together with a couple friends during quarantine, who I was staying with while I was working last quarter, and waiting on some other film friends who are in other parts of the world to send me some special effects on that. So we got kind of a fun little network of people playing around for that. So I'm really looking forward to it. Documentary wise, one of the things I've been wanting to play with, which is definitely not a huge like social impact kind of, but more an abstract documentary that I really do want to focus on is I'm one of the few kind of like arts dudes in my group at Stanford, and a lot of my friends are computer science and physics people. And something that we always get back talking about is whether or not we're in a simulation and whether or not that matters. And I've always thought if I could sit down 6 or 7 kids and have them walk us through kind of the theory behind it and kind of the more general sentiment behind to what extent that's actually important, I think it'd be really cool. And I think it'd be fun to kind of get their perspective on that and see if we could frame it up with some, cool graphics and interesting digitally stock footage kind of action.
That would be really cool. Let's go to Jay.
I personally don't have any documentaries coming up that I want to direct. I mean, endless possibilities, maybe one day. I have a lot of ideas at random times, so maybe. I do have plans to be crew on documentaries in the future, specifically the ghost hunting documentaries that were kind of in the works right now to help her produce them and fund them. I'm post-producing one of hers right now that should be done in the next couple months and put on Amazon and stuff like that. But as far as directing them, I don't think Isabel or I have any plans soon, but maybe.
Lucia, same question.
Yeah, the pandemic kind of like I felt like put a little bit of a stop in like filmmaking, but I think I definitely like I would like to direct another documentary. I think I've been covering the pandemic for, I mean, about nearly a year now. So I think I would like to at least kind of comb through everything that I've collected in the past year and see what I can make with it and like what we can learn from this past year. Trying to gauge when an appropriate time would be, because I don't know if people want to hear about the pandemic right now, but I think I want to stick in the documentary realm. But I think I would definitely something looking at 2020, either if that's the pandemic or I think something else I'd be really interested in looking at, the Black Lives Matter demonstrations and movement that arose over the summer and just taking a look at it locally and then seeing like where have we progressed, where have we not, but just I think overall something from 2020.
Awesome. Do we have one last question from the audience? All right. Can you describe a typical day and the process of making a documentary? Jacob, we'll start with you.
So for this documentary, it definitely was not what I expected, primarily because the pandemic put a huge wrench in things, and a lot of the work ended up being done in post-production, putting together a different story than the one I originally intended to tell. The only other documentary work that I've done was a piece called Going Home that I made in 2017 after the forest fires in Napa and Sonoma. And I accompanied a family back to the remains of their house after having evacuated. And we went through the neighborhood and we talked about what it was like to lose things and what it was like to kind of have memories and have them preserved in film and to carry on after such an intense loss. And that was more of a traditional documentary experience in that the typical day is defined by the fact that it is wonderfully atypical. The fact that you don't necessarily know what you're getting into because of the fact that the narrative is provided for you when you tell other people, this is your chance to tell your story, and all you have to do is press record. You become very passive in a very productive and kind of engaged way. And I think that's super cool. The typical day is you'll figure out who your subject is going to be and generally where you're going to go, but then kind of the action and the emotion and the happenstance of the moment takes you on such a cool, unexpected journey that you do have to be able to account for everything that is not typical. And I really appreciated that experience.
That's great. Jay, how about you?
Yeah, I think I love a lot of what he said. I think for the two documentaries that Isabel and I have directed together, it was a lot of just like expecting the unexpected and rolling with whatever was thrown at us. But it was like so fun at the same time because we're telling other people's stories that we found to be important. Another documentary that we did was on a local shelter, a local animal shelter, and that was a lot of like we went into it thinking we were just going to talk about dogs and cats and why they need homes, and then it ended up being the importance of kids with autism having service dogs to make them happy and to play with, and like veterans getting dogs for medical issues and stuff like that. And we didn't really expect any of that going in. So I think it's a lot of just like learning as you go and kind of you have the story that you want, but developing another story at the end of it. And yeah, just literally like every day being able to tell someone else's story, I think we really enjoyed and we found it really, really just important.
Yeah, I mean, to what both of you guys have said, I mean, it's just how many times do you feel like, oh, wow, I wish I had a camera for that moment to capture that experience, and while you're filming a documentary, you're just there putting this together and capturing this, this amazing subject that so many people should know about. And it's great with with the documentary short programs, you just learn so much from all the different different perspectives and world experiences out there. Lucia, what's your typical day in making a documentary?
I think the best thing is that every day is a little bit different. I think what's been touched on, like you don't really know what to expect. Occasionally crying and being like, oh, is this like, am I like going in the right direction? Like, just like the stress and like a little imposter syndrome. But I think it's a lot of fun because every day like I said, looks different. Like it's when like kind of I mean, hours collecting all your equipment, okay, prepping yourself, okay, I'm hitting the field. Or I think one of my, like, some of the, like, more fun days are, like, just writing down a list of B-roll that I need and just, like, asking a friend, will you hop in the car with me? I got to get this stuff, and just, like, driving around to collect some of those stuff. And then there's, like, I mean, hours spent, like, editing, and that can be very therapeutic too. But I think it's just all of the little steps, and, like, it's just, I think that what I truly love about it is just that that's not, I'm sitting doing the same thing every day, 9 to 5, that I don't know what the day could hold.
Yeah. So I have 2 more questions for you guys, and then we're going to wrap this up, and then we're going to go into at 7 o'clock, we have a Q&A with Nevada B, drama and comedy. What impact do you hope that this film will have that you made? Jacob, we'll start with you.
You know, it's interesting because I think, you know, there's an argument to be made that making a documentary about your own experience is somewhat selfish. And I thought about that a lot during the process, you know, where I was like, I want to make this about my experience because in a lot of ways it was self-care. It was something I felt like I had to do to make sense of something that stunned me so much that I wasn't ready for, that I really didn't know how to make sense of if I didn't look at it through a lens that I was familiar with. And you know, kind of going into filmmaker mode, it certainly helps me feel like I have at least some semblance of control over so many different elements that I wasn't really prepared to consider, and having my college experience cut short and all of these things. And so I think the impact I hope it had is to say, one, it is possible to use storytelling to give a very chaotic lived experience meaning. And two, again, I used that phrase before, calibrated optimism. I don't say this is a time worth celebrating, but I think there are small, beautiful, intimate moments in all aspects of lived experience that if we choose the right lens for them, and if we look at them in a way that shines that kind of light on them, we can at least find sparks of light in an otherwise very, very dark time. And I would hope it encouraged the people who watch it to practice doing that.
Great. Jay, what impact do you hope that your film has?
I think a hope that we all had, like Isabel and I and the 2 DJs, was kind of just to like shed a light on the ability to be collaborative in the creative community in Vegas, and that it's really small, and you know, like we can all kind of come together to do something really cool. I know like a big thing of theirs, and they even talk about it in the documentary, is a big goal of theirs is just to like give people platforms and give people opportunities who don't really have it. You know, they throw these big events, and they have other DJs, other musicians, other platforms for art come in and do their thing, and they maybe don't book shows on their own, and so these DJs give them an opportunity to do that. I think just the biggest thing is to show that like we're all here doing our creative thing, and we can all kind of help each other and support the locals.
That's great. Lucia, how about you?
I'd say I hope my documentary gets across the importance of every single shelter having a space for pets, and how non-negotiable that is. That essentially, like, you wouldn't ask anyone else to split from their pet. And I hope it also encourages people to just be nicer, like, especially kind of what I touched on a little bit, hearing some of the, like, just the nasty things that people are saying to unhoused folks without pets, like, to just humanize it, and like hope that it can change those perceptions.
That's great. So final question, what is the next project you're working on, and what's a way for people to find you, follow you, and follow your work? Jacob. Oh, you're muted.
Haha. All right. Yeah, I mentioned before, I have a fun little, should be like a 6-minute little sci-fi project coming up, which I'm super stoked for. Especially because I said before, it's like, you know, I have other friends who I haven't really contacted in a while because of the fact that like we used to make films in person and it's been a while. So reaching out to them for those special effects and kind of just using it as a way to reconnect with some of the broader, you know, across the country film peeps is good. It's a lot of fun. And as far as a way to find me, so my name is Jacob Langsner. And I have a website called jacoblangsner.com. And if you want to watch any of my past projects, get to know more about what I'm up to, what I got in the works, where I'm going, I invite you all to check it out. Yeah.
Awesome. And will you be joining us for the Q&A for your other film?
Yeah, I believe that's 1 tomorrow or sometime in the early afternoon tomorrow, but yeah, I'll be around.
Great. Jay, how about you?
I think the student project that I have coming up that I'm kind of in the works of getting together right now is I guess I'd call it like a horror dance choreography short film. I don't know, like there's so many things that it could classify itself as, but I'm getting that in the works right now, like very short into doing that. But yeah, I'm really excited to do that. It's something I've never done. A really good friend of mine is going to do the choreography, and one is going to be the actor. And I worked with them both before, and I think they're really talented people. So I kind of want to give all of us a platform to do something cool like that that we care about. And yeah, I mean, some other little things that might come up. Don't really have any solidity on those yet, but I don't have a website. You can follow me on Instagram.
What's your handle on Instagram?
It's at DJ Rochelle. I don't think I can type it anywhere, but I post a lot of things there for film. So if you find it.
Cool. Lucia, how about you?
Yeah, I don't have anything concrete right now. I think just kind of a little bit what I touched on earlier. I've delved a little bit more into audio, which is something I've been really enjoying. I am kind of doing a piece looking at the pandemic in Northern Nevada over the last year, but for audio, so just kind of plugging away on that. The best way to follow me is, sorry to be like this, but Twitter, I'm at Lucia Starbuck, just my name, LuciaStarbuck.
Great. Well, thank you all so much for joining us and for making great films. And we will be back live again at 7 p.m. for the Nevada B drama and comedy. So yeah, watch some films. We have 160, over 160 international short films and music videos streaming on demand at damnshortfilm.org. And yeah, and don't forget to vote for the films. After you've watched the full program, you will be able to rate each film, and we have audience awards. So each genre category that the film was submitted in. So we have like Nevada, comedy, sci-fi, horror, drama, documentary. What am I forgetting? I'm sure there's animation and probably something else. But those are the categories that we have awards for. So, and those are chosen by the audience. So once you've watched the program, make sure to rate every film, and we'll see you all soon. Bye.